Hey guys, today we're going to take a look at the book The Power of Now by Eckhart Tolle. This book was a New York Times bestseller, and Oprah described it as one of the most transformative books that she's ever read. So without further ado, let's jump in. By the age of 29, the author of this book, Eckhart Tolle, had descended into a depression which was so horrendous that he considered taking his own life. During this dark time, he thought, I cannot live with myself any longer. This thought struck him as a strange one. If I can't live with myself, does that mean that I am two people? The I and the self that I can't live with. And obviously Eckhart Tolle isn't two people. Eckhart Tolle is just one person. So it dawned on him that this voice that's inside his head isn't actually him. Most people don't distinguish themselves from the voice that's in their head that constantly talks to them. The little person that lives inside our head has been with us for so long that we identify with them. Often these little people are unhappy, and the dialogue which they have with us is dominated by negativity. But realising that we are separate from the voice inside our head is a powerful breakthrough. When you stop for a second and notice the voice, you realise that the voice isn't who you are, because you are the person who is noticing the voice. You are the observer. Right, so let's call the voice inside our head the thinker. When you stop identifying with the thinker and realise that you are a presence which can observe the thinking, you become free from your thought patterns which can sometimes be negative. But just to be clear, thinking isn't always bad. It is an incredible tool which can be used to do wonderful things, but it's when our identity is tied to our thoughts that can lead to problems. When we think about who we are as a person, the thinker in our mind builds a story of our life, and we accept this narrative without question. These stories can be unhappy ones, and they can lead us to feel dissatisfied with ourselves, to think that we aren't good enough. The story of who we are is based on our memories of past events, so when we identify with this story, we are basically trapping ourselves in our perceptions of the things that have happened in our lives. This is a very limiting way to live your life. When you think about your life, like we all do from time to time, does your mind tell a happy story which involves all the loving people around you and the amazing things that you have done? Or does your mind tell an unhappy story by stubbornly dwelling on your imperfections and shortcomings? I know which story my mind tells me, and I'm pretty sure that I can guess which story your mind tells you, which is why it's so important that we stop identifying ourselves with the little nagging voice inside our head. It's all well and good knowing this information, but how can we actually go about separating ourselves from the relentless thinker that follows us everywhere we go? This is where the title of the book, The Power of Now, comes into play. It is in the present moment, in the now, that we must bring our awareness to, and if you think about it, the now is all we ever have. The past is simply a continuum of nows which have already happened, and the future is simply a continuum of nows which haven't happened yet. The fundamental idea of this book is to live your life in the present moment, and I know, this sounds really cliche and simplistic, but it's true. By living in the now, you can avoid all the torments of dwelling on the past, and you can avoid all the anxiety of worrying about the future. Some of us find it hard to let go of the past, and we let it define our present day thought patterns and behaviours. And at the other end of the spectrum, it's all too easy to rush through life and not be present because your mind is always focusing on the future, the next weekend or the next holiday. This means that you aren't enjoying what is happening right in the current moment, and further still, even when the weekend arrives or it's time for that long-awaited holiday, your mind still might be lost in the anticipation of something even further in the future. In this sense, you are chasing your life away. This is why it's important to enjoy the now as much as possible. Let's look at this from a slightly different angle. What problems do you have right in this moment? Not in half an hour's time or tomorrow, but right now. When we fully assess what's happening in the present moment, we realise that a lot of our worries and problems aren't actually affecting us right now. And this allows us the opportunity to be free of the troubles, rather than allowing them to follow us around like a dark cloud. There are people who are serving life sentences in prison that have written to Eckhart to tell him that when they have listened to his advice, and focused only on what troubled them in the present moment, they found a sense of freedom. When I think about this kind of stuff, it reminds me of a scene from the Star Wars film Rogue One, where the character Chirrut Imwe is stuck in a prison with Cassian Andor and says to him, "There is more than one sort of prison, Captain. I sense that you carry yours wherever you go." Now I know that this is super nerdy, but this quote actually really resonated with me because on some level it seemed to connect with the idea of the power of now. As mentioned earlier, there are people who are literally stuck inside a prison for life, yet manage to find freedom in the present moment. And there are other people whose liberty knows no bounds, and yet they are imprisoned by their own mind. Anyway, enough of all the heavy stuff. How can we bring our awareness to the now? One of the best ways that we can do this is through observing the body and the breath, as is done when one meditates. When we observe our body and our breath, we bring stillness to the present moment. Thankfully, you don't have to be a Zen master to benefit from the power of now, because this isn't limited to the practice of meditation. You can experience the power of now in everything that you do, so long as you stay in touch with the present moment. Even whilst performing simple day-to-day tasks, such as taking a shower or washing your hands, you can find a calm stillness. I used to view these routine activities as chores, and I'll try and get them done as soon as possible so I had more free time to do something else. But in hindsight, this isn't the best thing to do because the time that I spent performing these activities lost all its potential value, no matter how small. When taking a shower or washing your hands, you can experience the power of now by bringing awareness to the sensations of the water, how it feels on your skin. Notice the movement of your fingers, your hands, your arms, your whole body. In this state of immense presence, you feel truly alive, and it can actually be quite powerful. If you've heard of the term mindfulness, all of this might sound quite familiar to you, but Eckhart isn't actually a big fan of the term mindfulness because it suggests that your mind is full when really, in the now, your mind is empty. It's free from the stream of thoughts that usually occupy it. When you go deep enough into the present moment, you find gratitude for the little things in your life. Gratitude is an important part of having a fulfilling life, but it's so easy to forget to be grateful for the things that we have, and all too easy to get caught up in the things that we don't have. I love how Gary Vaynerchuk talks about how he constantly reminds himself how lucky he is to even be alive. If you haven't heard of Gary Vaynerchuk, or Gary V as he's also known, then please check him out, he's an awesome guy. But basically, what he does is he reminds himself of how lucky he is to even be alive on this planet, or how lucky he is that his whole family are alive, and that no one has died that day. And by going to these extreme lengths, he manages to fuel and motivate both himself and the huge audience that he's got today. I've spoken endlessly about the power of now, but I must clarify that there is value in learning from the past, and there is value in planning for the future. The trick is to find the right balance and to not let the past or future dictate our lives. So the next time that you catch the little person inside your head being up to no good, beating you up, remember that voice is not you. You are the observer. You are in the driving seat. So bring your awareness to the present moment. Immerse yourself in the wonders that surround you and experience the power of now. As always guys, thanks for watching. If you're interested in purchasing the book, I've left a link in the description where you can go and do that. Also, check out Eckhart Tolle's other work and Gary Vaynerchuk as well. I know I mentioned him briefly. Awesome people. Until the next one, love you, bye.